It's only sport with Martin Devlin on the platform. Brought to you by One New Zealand. Let's get connected.
13 to the hour it is. Murray Mexted joins us. We're looking forward to this. Mex, I understand you're copping it a bit from the Yarpies, mate. What's going on?
I am, yes, having a crack at me because of my comments about the referee. But, my comments about the referee were purely about the game and the direction that the international game is going. And one would have to question the control and the domination that referees have these days. I mean, there's no doubt about it. South Africa deserved to win that test.
Jeez, you almost said lose. You just about said lose there, didn't you? You just about did.
That would have been a word mistake.
Yes.
But no, they deserved to win both games. But I'm talking about rugby going forward. And the more I watch, the more I realise that the referees are controlling and dominating the game. And do we want that? That's the question that should be asked on a global basis. But I think it also is a good message to the All Blacks. If you want to retain our revered position in the game, where we're very hard to beat, irrespective of whether it's at home or away, and we've had an 80% success ratio over 100 years, do we want to retain that? And the answer in my mind is absolutely, if at all possible, do our best to do so. Maybe in this modern day and age with professional rugby, it's a bigger ask. But as long as we've got a competitive competition or series of competitions down under, and we approach the game in the coordinated manner we have in the last 30 odd years or so or more, really, then we should be able to perform. But I think playing that game in Cape Town, Razor will be looking hard at what he's doing. So there will be changes in the game against Australia for the Bledisloe Cup in Sydney.
All right then, mate. So changes. What would you do?
What would I do in this situation?
Yes.
Well, I don't like picking teams before test matches because you're not there. You don't know what's going on in the background. You don't have the same inside information that you do when you're in the team and in the squad. And I hear journos picking teams quite often in advance, and they're not around the scene. They're not even in the environment. And it's folly, isn't it? It's hard to be accurate and successful or to have a calculated judgment. But in this situation, I think the writing's on the wall. We've got to win 55 to 60% of the ball against Australia in Sydney, against a hurt Australian team in Sydney. So you're going to have some bigger players up front. So in my mind, I'd be looking at Barrett and Darry, but I'd also be thinking very hard about Josh Lord. Those are big boys with Barrett, who's about 2 metres. You've got to have that in the middle row if you're going to get 55 to 60%. And that's not fair on Tugo Vai, because I think he had his best game I've seen him play in the All Black jersey in Cape Town. But he's not big enough for the middle row to compete at the top of the game, the top of the international game. So then you look at the loosies and you say, right, one thing we need, if we've got a couple of, we've got one at least, 2 or 3 fairly young and experienced players up front and some behind, then you need to have a bit of experience and proven performance at the highest level. So you'd have to play Sam Cane and Severe together. But that blindside flanker role hasn't been resolved. I've been trying even when Frizzell was there, it wasn't 100% certain that Frizzell would be the man, and they changed a bit. They've tried a few players. In my opinion, no one stamped their mark on that position, that blindside flanker position where you've got a big brute of a man who's capable of winning ball in the air and has a bit of grunt. You've got to have that big, strong, tough blindside flanker who gets less opportunity to the ball that compared to the other loose forwards. So when he gets that opportunity, he's got to make a meal of it. He's got to really make an impact. I'm looking hard. I'm trying to find one. Now, I know they've tried Tupou Vai on the blind side earlier and it didn't quite work, but that's where I'd put him for this game against Australia. I'd put Tupou Vai on the blind side because he's much more competent player, much more self-assertive, you know. He had a great game in very, very trying conditions, in my view, against South Africa. So I think he's worthy of playing. And I'd put him at blindside flanker and try and develop him until somebody stands up and says, I'm your man, I'm a specialist blindside flanker, I've got the attributes, pick me. Now, no one's doing that in New Zealand at the moment. No one. So put Tupou Vai there. Okay, so that'll probably upset a few people. But anyway, moving on to the inside backs, Martin.
Yes.
There's no doubt we need experience. There is no doubt. You've got to have someone who has the ability to control the game in many respects. If you win 55 to 60% of ball, you've got to handle it properly to be able to retain it or regain it. You've got to be able to distribute quickly. You've got to clear it quickly. You've got to make good decisions. So I'd pick TJ Perenara, and I know a lot of people are saying he's had his day, but in my mind, he's the only one we have in that position in the squad at the moment that has real experience. And, you know, maybe he did overreact against the referee, but he's an intensely passionate man, but he's also bloody shrewd and a good footballer. So I'd be looking at him, and if they're going to cross him off, you know, and move on because they're saying he's, you know, 32 or whatever he is, 33, isn't it? Then I would be looking at bringing Finlay Christie back into the team. Did you watch the Shield match?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Well, you'd have to say that Finlay Christie ran that whole game. I mean, they lost their captain and major ball winner, and yet he ran the game. He cleared bad ball really, really quickly. So I'd be thinking very hard about bringing him back into the squad, if not on the field. If they don't want to play TJ Perenara, I'd be starting Finlay Christie. And you can't tell me he hasn't had enough experience because he's had buckets of it. And if you look at the other options in the squad at the moment, no one's got buckets of experience. And we have to build performance and make good decisions as part of that. Okay, so then we're moving out a little bit into areas that I don't quite have the same qualification as some other speakers on the back line, but I'd be actually bringing in a guy who has been successful and won World Player of the Year twice in the last few years. I'll be bringing Beauden Barrett back into 10 because when he played 10, he ran the show.
It's Only Sport with Martin Devlin on the platform. Brought to you by One New Zealand. Let's get connected.